Okay, let's get everybody on here. Chris. I'm over here, technological man.
You used to have to do that.
Chris, we're gonna add IT to your EOC.
But it used to just work.
Yeah.
You want to pay too?
Yeah, do I get a bonus?
Oh, forget it.
Do they need to, you want them on or not?
I guess. They need it.
Yeah, Vicky and Dave, will y'all hit your speak buttons, please? Yours doesn't even come on, does it? Oh, here it goes.
Green light.
The green light, okay, yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
Court. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dawes County Board of Commissioners Public Budget Presentations. We welcome those that are with us here in the room as well as those that are with us online. So we'll start out going right into the program. First up, we have Superior Court, who will also be talking about treatment court and law library. And you got a whole crowd, so I don't know who's going to talk. So come on up.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Goslin. I'm the Chief Judge. And we really appreciate you allowing us to be here this morning and the opportunity to answer questions and tell you what our situation is right now. We only have two real asks that are over what we've done in the past, and those are a pretrial officer and fixing one of the courtrooms to put more technology that we now use because of pandemic stuff. So those are really the only two things, but I have brought, Judge Bearden and I are really here to support the people who know what they're talking about. So Jason Stevenson, our court administrator, is here, and our assistant court administrator, Katie Mincy, and Jesse Emmett will talk about treatment services. So they're going to give you the details, and we're here to answer questions and do whatever else we can. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. And just for the board's knowledge, if you're looking at 2021 budget versus the requested 2022, you're looking at about $18,548 difference. And if you look at the recommended, which is the trends that we look at going forward, finance is recommending 580, which if you look at that first line item salary, that had to do what we did last year. So that line item is bigger than what they put in their request, but that's fine. And as she said, they are looking for one new full-time position and a capital project. So go ahead.
You've hit, and Judge Goslin hit the exact items and the details are in front of you, but it's good to be in front of you again. I'm Jason Stevenson, the court administrator. And the two specific items, one is the pretrial officer position, and two is to do some further AV upgrades in courtroom C. On the operating side, we have actually cut what we've requested for 2022. And we've done that because we want to very much highlight those areas of most need. The biggest need that we have is a pretrial officer. And in front of you do an excellent job of giving you those details. Our pretrial department, as you know, rather than sending defendants to jail before they go to trial, it's better for them and it's better for our jail staff. Most often they're allowed to go home, provided that they comply with certain conditions. Don't stay out past your curfew, wear a GPS monitor, no contact with the victim. Those sorts of conditions that the judge imposes and grants bail or a bond and provides that they must come back to face trial at a later date. We have 380 defendants right now on pretrial release, 380. 3 years ago, that number was 90. And we've made a very concerted effort to work cooperatively with Sheriff Johnson to reduce the numbers at the jail, provided that we can do that safely and keep the public safe. Judge Goslin, Judge Bearden, and our other three judges have spent a great deal of time working through the cases. You'll see around the state that COVID has created quite a backlog for a lot of superior courts. That is not the situation in your superior court. We have very little of a backlog, and our superior court judges have stepped in to help with traffic court here with probate. and worked very, very hard and diligently over the last 18 months, particularly Judge Bearden, who was here 2 weeks ago until 9 and 10 o'clock at night, closing out over 100 cases during one of his trial weeks. So we are not coming in front of you with a huge backlog of cases and huge budget requests to try to handle cases that have sat there for a year and a half. We did have jury trials that were suspended up until from about 12 months with a brief kind of break in there. But the Supreme Court lifted the ban on jury trials on March 9th. On March 10th, we were back in our circuit doing jury trials. And we have been full steam ahead since that date in March. And we've done that safely. And we've done it with precautions in place for COVID. And we've been able to handle the caseload with Mr. Power, with the public defender's office and with the DA's office, and have done it really well. But our pretrial officer position is exactly because of that number that's gone up from 90 to 380. And we need an officer that can supervise those cases and ensure compliance in order for the judges to have confidence in releasing defendants to go home until their trial date. So that's the new position request. The second item is that capital item. And this was, we reconfigured a little bit of what we were doing in the courtrooms because we've learned so much over the pandemic. And we've been able to do quite a bit by Zoom, and we've live streamed a number of our trials, but we've also brought in remote witnesses by Zoom and done a lot of things, video teleconferencing that 3 years ago we had never done before. Well, a year and a half ago we had never done before. But we reconfigured what we were going to do in some of these courtrooms. Upcoming, Mr. Thompson has lined up the other 3 courtrooms to install this technology. Courtroom C would be the last courtroom to equip it with. So those are the 2 specific items that you have in front of you. Any questions about either of those 2 or any of the rest of our?
I'll just make a comment. I met with Judge Goslin and Judge Bearden, I guess, a week or so ago in reference to the pretrial officer, and looked at the number. And one of the things that we talked about in that was that if we can keep these people out of jail, that this person might pay for itself over time of what we would save through the jail and through insurance and all the other stuff that you wind up paying for somebody that's languishing in the jail for months. We also had a discussion about, and I think they're going to work on this, is where people that are arrested for a misdemeanor don't go to jail, period, and just get a citation and get told to come to court. So hopefully that's going to get worked out as well, which would be a benefit as well, not only to the sheriff's office not having so many inmates, but the cost to pay for itself. And in reference to the capital project, obviously, we're looking at those through some extra funding that we may have in Splosh. Y'all have any questions?
No, I just wanted to thank you for this.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I had gotten that before, and even I could understand. So it is so well written. It is so clear. It's so plain that I got it. So information like that just thrills me.
Well, thank you.
It helps me, and I know it took a while to do it, but you did an excellent job.
Thank you. And any information like that we can provide, we're always certainly happy to do, and to try to do that in a way that is understandable.
I did. I got it. I'm telling you, you did a good job.
Well,
But thank you for it.
I'll let Ms. Emmett speak to treatment services and the requests that are there.
Good morning. Just for the board's knowledge, they're asking for rate increases in 2 positions. And primarily, that's the biggest request for the reason they'd be here in reference to treatment court today. Because there was some increases like in group insurance, and they really can't control that. And the only other thing was like supplies and materials and a couple of those line items. So if you will, and as you can see, the recommended from the county is higher than what was requested. So if you'll explain those 2 rate increases, please.
Yes, sir. First, I just want to thank you all again for the support that y'all showed us last month with the 15th anniversary of treatment court here in Dawson. We also are starting our graduations back in person, so we will make sure that you get invitations to those starting next month. And we'll also try to record them so we can send those to you. In regards to the budget request, we are looking at increasing 2 of our positions, which have not received increases in, I don't know, the last time that they received true increases. The first is our coordinator for Dawson County Treatment Court. Over the past several years, we've absorbed mental health court, which used to have its own full-time position. As a coordinator, we absorbed that. So the coordinator for that position now oversees 3 separate tracks for Dawson County: the drug court, the DUI court, and the mental health court. So she's responsible for the daily operations of that entire program, as well as overseeing all of the staff, the contract officers that we have, 2 separate court dockets. We have Judge Goslin overseeing one, Judge Deal overseeing the other. So she's responsible for a great many staff, all of the clients that we have. We currently are sitting at 74 is the current census for treatment court, and those numbers continue to rise. Every 2 weeks, our referral lists are full as arrests are being made and everything's opening back up. So we aren't asking for a huge increase. Her current salary is $56,743, and we're wanting to bring that up in line so it's more comparable to other positions in neighboring counties that have the same kind of caseload, the number of folks that they would oversee. So we're asking to bring that up to $58,221 as the salary for Ms. Currens. We're also asking for an increase for our case manager. So she also oversees all of the data entry, all of the day-to-day operations for those 74 clients, which we anticipate will probably be up close to 100 when I come and speak to y'all again next year. So those numbers continue to increase, and there's nothing in place for that salary to increase as the responsibilities do. So we're looking at increasing her salary from $35,427 to $40,788, which again is a comparison to other counties that even have smaller caseloads than what our current case manager has. So I can tell you that during the salary study, which I believe was 2 years ago, I don't believe that this position was included in the salary study with Dawson County. I know that our of our programs. So we want to, it's a vital position. I'm very passionate about trying to make a plea for these positions to get raised if at all possible. So that's really the main increase that we're requesting in this year's budget.
Questions?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Law library. Just gonna-
Law library.
No
is-
change to that.
There's
so-
no change. So I don't think there's any questions about that. And the last thing I'll mention is, and I think you've heard some of the presentations already. Our intention on Superior Court is to be lean in our operating budget so that we can support the request for a new position as well as some needs from other departments that work within the court system. So I think you've already heard from the PD's office. You've heard from Mr. Thompson and his request for a position, and you're well familiar with Sheriff Johnson's needs at the jail. And the last thing I would just mention is that all of our judges understand that all 3 of those departments have significant needs to support and equip the court services that are here every day. With that said, Judge Goslin, Judge Bearden, any other? Okay. That
Thank
would be
y'all.
our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for letting us be here, and thank you to Mr. Headley and Ms. Nykerk and Mr. Thompson for all their cooperation in in an unprecedented year.
Now, that's not what he said to me.
I want to thank Commissioner Fawcett in particular for coming to our graduation.
You are welcome. It works.
Yeah.
All of this works. I don't mind spending money on that. But thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we move on to fuel and fleet services. I know David's going to talk a little bit about that right there. Shannon and Scotty both are not able to be with us today. They're sick, and so they're not able to come.
Unfortunately, they're both sick today. So
Who's over there working?
Kara, she's handling.
Kara,
Well, get-
Chairs
share
turning,
mechanic.
turning wrenches and moving equipment. No.
Well, that suits
You
me.
change
That-
oil?
I
Yeah.
changed some clothes. I don't want oil on my clothes.
That's what she having to do too.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Well, good morning, board. Yeah, I am going to sit in for Shannon this morning. So I'll try to answer your questions.
Basically, let me
much as
just
I
go over a little
can.
bit, David, right here first. Is the request is about $12,823 more than the 2021 budget. Most of that is in the salary that we already granted before after the budget was put forth. So 9,000 of that's already in that area. So that's basically not much change to their overall budget. They are asking for one new full-time employee, and David, you can speak to that. And they're
Okay.
asking for a forklift in the Capitol.
Yes, sir.
I will bring to your attention that they also provided us with the vehicle, or Shannon provided us with the vehicle priority list.
That's correct.
That's in there. He also provided you with a list of all the rolling stock
Yes, sir.
so that you can see what we have exactly. He also provided you with fuel usage to date, where you can see who's using fuel and who's not. And also the repairs to date on all the different vehicles that we have. So very comprehensive report that he's provided to you that's in your packet that you can look at your own particular leisure. But Dave, if you'll talk about the full-time employee in the capital project, that should be
Yes, sir.
where we need to go.
We do have a frozen position there. It's been frozen for a while. We're asking for a kind of a regular mechanic / light heavy equipment mechanic, which would be able to do some of the smaller hydraulics, those kind of things. Anything that's real heavy, like for example, if we had to have work done on the paving machine, that would certainly go out to somebody that is experienced more in that area. But the main focus on that job would be to assist in the shop itself with rolling stock increasing. We've got really Scotty out in the bays working on a lot of that equipment, whereas Shannon does a lot of the administrative stuff. Now Kara does do the administrative as far as the order and all, but as far as I'll give you an example, we just got a new tractor out there for the transfer station. Required a lot of research and putting specs together and those kind of things to be able to get a tractor. So working with the finance department with purchasing, that combined took up a lot of Shannon's time, along with all the other requests, the ordering and that kind of stuff, which she doesn't really have the experience in. So it falls a lot on Shannon. So in many cases, Scotty is by himself out there in the shop doing, work. And of course, you have the emergency types where you might have a dead battery or a flat tire or something that's light mechanical that needs immediate service. So you have to stop what you're doing. So it's really a tough job for one man or one person to do.
Yeah,
So
we're not lucky enough now to have old Norman anymore like we used to have.
that's right. We don't have any inmate labor out there now. So it falls on their shoulders. And when Scotty's out, Shannon's in there. And I'll give you an example. The other day, we had a hydraulic issue with one of the sidearms. Shannon was on vacation. Scotty had to fix the hydraulics himself. Well, it was inside the boom. So Scotty can't get down and go get tools or hold on to the hose or do whatever. So he had Kara out there. And so that's one of the reasons why you're seeing kind of an increase in uniform budget, because if the board grants this position, that individual would need uniforms, and along with Kara, because there are times that Kara will go out there and be able to assist. And you know how it is in a shop like that, you back into something, next thing you know, you get grease on you. And this would allow her to be able to, when she knows she's going to be out there, or at least to have something hanging there to be able to get into so that she can assist. So that's the increase as far as the uniform budget, but that's the need for the position itself, is just unfreeze that position, have another mechanic in there as we begin to expand on our rolling stock, and the board has been excellent in getting new stock in. So we have that new rolling stock, but again, obviously it needs to be serviced on a regular basis. So That's with that position. As far as the capital goes on the forklift, both the Public Works building and the facilities building both have kind of a mezzanine area, if you will. There is an exterior entry to that mezzanine area, which is, up in the second floor, second story. The only other access is through a stairwell that's inside, which is, standard width, but makes it very difficult when you're carrying cases of oil or your tires and those kind of things. So what they're looking for is a forklift that can be kind of multi-purpose, be used for both for Public Works and for fleet, as long as maybe facilities as well that may have something they can, that they need to put up, high to be able to start utilizing that mezzanine area up there for storage. So that's the need for the forklift. And I think that was really about it. Of course, there were three, as the chairman mentioned, there were 5 vehicles, I think, that they were proposing, 3 number ones that were critical, and then 2
3 level ones and 2
twos,
level
and-
twos. Yeah.
and those are listed as far as what department need, departments are requesting that and where their needs fall as far as ranking goes. So I'll answer any questions I might be able to
Questions for David?
help you with.
The forklift, I was talking about when I built that building too. About multi-purpose using both. Did we ever put the booms in there? When I put a lift or some kind of crane thing?
No, sir.
So-
No, that
help pull
that might have been
engines.
valued engineered out when we did that. We were looking at costs.
I think that's was asked for.
Mhm.
Construction of that building. Like I said, we valued it out. It helped with lifting engines. Rear end, whatever. They don't have anything to, way to pull them out now.
But it helps, when they're bringing stock in and stuff with a forklift, obviously they can go out there and lift.
I think this was asked for, like I said, it could be moved back and forth.
That's right. It could be shared with other departments as well. Facility, and the common ones would be facilities or public works.
I mean, lots of times, you got like a.
Emery, will you turn it green?
Like if you've got like just a LTL delivery or something, they charge you a fee if you don't have a forklift to get it off
Absolutely.
because they use their lift gate.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I mean, it wouldn't pay for the forklift, but that does add up. So,
Yeah. But it's a necessary piece of equipment that, needs to be, at some point, needs to be looked at.
Other questions for David?
I just want to say again, this is good information too. I know this was a lot of trouble, whoever
Mhm.
did all this, but I love this list of all the vehicles. So whoever did this, thank you.
That's Shannon.
And believe it's so good. It helps me.
Yes, ma'am.
I stay in the dark a lot of times. This puts some light to me, for me.
Oh. I know you had fuel here. It wasn't any upgrade. I mean, any
It's actually
changes on that?
We had,
Huh?
yeah, we did. we
Fleet's
were-
actually reduction.
Yeah.
on the combined, fuel going up,
Yeah.
that's gonna be, so a little increase there. We had the propane moving it from one account and merging it into one account. So.
What are
that was
we,
one of
what
the
are we
changes that you
paying?
saw.
I don't need to answer today, but on credit cards. As far as all on the east side with the fuel up. Bags
On the
card.
wax card, I have,
talking about fuel, are y'all still satisfied with y'all's fuel distributor? I know you had some issues during the pipeline shutdown. Did they come through for y'all?
yes,
or-
sir. Yeah, they did. And I think all in all, I've not heard anything from Shannon on any issues that we're having currently. As you know, it was at a shortage during that
Right.
time frame, and they were rationing it out. So they did keep us going. We weren't down that much.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thanks, Dave.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we'll move on to Park and Rec, Matt. Come on up. Just for the budgets, just for the knowledge for the board. You'll see some of the requests that Matt has made primarily. If you talk, Matt, if you go down and talk about property repair and maintenance,
Uh-huh.
$22,500 increase there, and contract labor, $10,000 increase there. He did have some reductions, obviously. He had a machinery in 2021 that's not in the 2022 request, so that they kind of balance themselves out there to some degree. So his overall budget request was $10,987 more. He is asking for 2 new full-time positions and some capital projects, which is parking lot and trail replacement at Rock Creek. So if you'll explain those and those 2 line items, Matt, that's pretty much the
Yes.
gist
Yes,
of
sir.
your
Mr. Chairman.
change.
Thank you. Yes, jumping right in to the property repairs and maintenance. It has just become increasingly busy at our Parks and Rec system, and thus we are, it seems like every year at the end of the year, we are pulling from Paul to pay Peter, and it's very difficult to keep things rolling. So we're just asking for a small increase on that property repairs and maintenance, just so we're not pinched at the end. Again, this is just due to the growth, due to what all's going on at the Parks and Rec. For contract labor, it's a very simple situation of we're adding leagues, we're adding players, we're adding kids. And to do that, we have to have officials. So that increases the officials rates for the contract labor. We did have a couple of capital, or let's talk, we'll do, I guess, positions. First, I think I had prioritized a position of a maintenance person, number 1, with an athletic staff person, a number 2. And when Natalie and I put this together, let me rephrase, when Natalie put this together for me, when we did this quite a while ago, that was my priority list. And not that that has changed, but it has evolved a little bit. We are excited at the Parks and Recreation Department to announce really that this fall, we are up just at 40%. Now, that's not 4% or 14, that's 40%. Our numbers have exploded. And these are the little guys. These are the little ones, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds that's going to be with us for a while. So those numbers indicate to me that the growth that has been being thought about for several years is finally coming to pass. Now, my predecessors that were here before me did a great job of getting us ready facility-wise. We can grow quite a bit into our facilities, especially at Rock Creek, was built wonderfully with growth in mind. But to do what we need to do, I need more foot coverage. If you come out tomorrow night, it's a great example on a Thursday night. If you come out to Veterans Park or Rock Creek Park, you'll see that it's slammed. It is absolutely slammed. So I just need more coverage there. Therefore, I'm asking for 1 more athletics person to help cover all these extra numbers that we're getting. And of course, with new growth, with new movement, with new moving parts, obviously I need another maintenance person. We're taking care of War Hill Park and the River Park. And it's just, we're getting a little bit more spread thin. We do need another maintenance person as well. So my priority list did change a little bit on the positions. I do list the athletics person as my first priority now. We are, well, we're just growing. We're busting at the seams with our numbers, and we need more coverage to get those kids on the right places and moving forward. The capital request that I did, Mr. Thurman had mentioned, we would love to do some repaving in some areas. We'd love to do some new fencing at Veterans Park. If you've been out to Veterans Park in a while, and I know you have, you will notice that back half of the park is beautiful. It's awesome. The front half of the park is beautiful, but it sure would be really nice with some new chain link fence. That chain link fence has been there for quite a while. Also, as you know, we are constantly on our mowers, and it's just time to be taking a look at replacing some of those as well. I'll be thrilled to answer any questions.
Questions for Matt?
Yes, with a 40% increase, and what's roughly what they pay now to sign a kid up?
That is something I'm going to be bringing to you hopefully this fall.
Because I know we're a little bit, we're a
goodness.
lot less expensive than a lot of counties around.
Yes, we are. And I know that this is a public forum right here, and I don't want to disclose any information that I shouldn't right now, but we are looking at some rate increases.
So with
I'm gonna be
40%,
presenting
what's
that.
Roughly, what are we charging kids now?
It depends on the sport, but a good example, I think we charge for football. I think we charge 160 per player. Some of our counties to the north of us are around that 180 to 200 range, maybe close to us. Our counties to the south of us, of course, we can't compare that. That's 400 a kid or so. But I would be looking at some rate increases this fall. I'm going to be presenting that in the work session to you for your consideration for the for 2022. But I'm going to do that at a later time. But yeah, we are going to be looking at some rate increases. And I hate that word. We all hate that word. But
It's
to
just,
cover
I
a
mean,
kid, example for
Umpires
football.
are
For
costing us
football, I always go back to football because it's got the most overhead. I would not be surprised at all if we're on the backside of that number. You know, it's costing more to dress the kid out in the equipment, costing more for the officials, costing more than what we're taking in. And I know we're not supposed to make money, and that's great. I'm so glad that I'm in a profession that you're not wanting to make money, but you're also certainly want to be very fiscally responsible with what you have. So we'll be looking at that at another time. Yes.
Do you buy their uniforms?
Yes, ma'am. Every
What,
kid.
You don't have sponsors anymore? Way back in the dark ages, we sponsored teams, and so that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, we have a sponsorship program set up. Yes, ma'am. We do have sponsors that provide us with money, not necessarily earmarked for certain things, but we put it into a sponsorship program. And that pretty much takes care of that segment of the population that can't afford to play in general, not
Yes.
necessarily for that uniform, but for it just to pay the registration fee in general.
Yeah.
But as far as somebody coming in and saying, we're going to sponsor the entire league with jerseys, no, ma'am, we do not have
Well, that used to happen.
I
I mean,
think
we
that
used to
would
do
be
it,
a
but I
wonderful
tell you,
thing,
this
but you're
is-
talking about a
we're talking about
massive
40
sponsor
years
then.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything's expensive and increases are inevitable.
Yeah.
Those leather football helmets were.
Yeah.
They were cheap, baby.
Listen, I didn't do football. I did T-ball and baseball, so I didn't have to worry about that.
Well, and to that, what you had
I'm gonna
said,
knock him in next week.
I would like to toot the horn of my staff, especially Caleb, our athletics manager, who has, if you'll notice, one of the line items did go down, and that's the equipment. He used COVID-19 year as a year to really get us ahead on some equipment. So we're good for a couple of years on helmets, because you got to get them refurbished every other year, and that's real money. And so he really did a great job of getting us ahead. So that number came down. Some other numbers, of course, came up, but we, like Mr. Thurman had said, I think we did a good job of balancing it out.
Other questions?
As far as equipment, and I'd like to see if we could look into possibly leasing some stuff as far as mowers and tractors and heavy equipment. I mean, it's that way, if you got something broke down, you can call them and say, they got so many hours to fix it or bring you a new one, even lawnmowers and stuff. Because time we get ready to sell something in gov deals, we don't get anything for it.
I would love to entertain that conversation. I know Mr.
Yeah,
Talbot would
I
as
mean,
well,
we got
because
several
that's-
departments in public works. I mean, I'd love to see us look into a lease program on, yeah, and tractors and mowers and stuff that Tauber needs, lifts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, and don't keep it till it's not worth anything, you know?
Other
So
questions?
that's coming. You said you're discussing that. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. I love it.
They're ahead of the game.
Yes.
Matt's also over the park pool, but you're looking at $767 difference from what?
Yeah,
It's
the
basically
park-
minor
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
He's also over War Hill Park, and that's only $147. You can touch on those if you'd like.
That's just the cost of, I think it's a very small percentage of going up on certain little things, but all in all, those are basically the same. We have a company that now takes care of all of our pool needs. So our property repairs and maintenance line item for the pool budget goes directly, basically, to this company. And they do a phenomenal job of keeping us running. I haven't touched a chlorine tablet this year. That's a great year. That's a great year.
Other questions for Matt? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Ms. Denise in Public Works. Just so y'all, just for your knowledge, I'm going to go over a few line items before she starts.
I wanted to
start out-
present something. I'm
Okay, go
sorry.
ahead.
Gentlemen at Public Works wanted to express appreciation for their new truck. So this is for y'all.
There you go. Anyway, she'll be talking about Public Works Administration. She'll also be talking about Road Department and also the transfer station, which are the three entities under her. And Public Works Administration, we're looking at $44,487 increase. She'll also talk about 4 new full-time positions and some capital projects that she has requested as well. Just for your, if we start out with Public Works Administration, if you'll go over, as I look down through here at professional services, that was a big increase there. So if you'll explain what you're wanting to do there in professional services. And that pretty much was the gist of your increased request, is that one line item pretty much.
That and the additional employment for the storm and construction inspector, which we desperately need. We'd like to be very proactive in our stormwater maintenance, which is directly related to our road repair.
Mhm.
So that is why we're requesting this additional person in.
Yeah, and you can talk about all 4 of those at the same time, the positions.
Okay, the professional services, we've had a on-call traffic analysis we brought to the board to select KCI. We plan to use those services aggressively when we do plan review. We've already used one. So we gave ourselves, its averages about $2,000 a service for them to review the plan reviews, especially on some of the larger developments. So I gave a little bit of a buffer for that, as well as for our CAD software. We have a CAD software program available to us here, but we haven't used it in several years. And we'd like to bring that on for Brian to be able to use to do some design work that we would not have to otherwise use services for. And so to be able to get a little bit of training on that 3D would probably be around $2,000, and then the $2,000 per year for the license. So that's why the 30,000 is there. We could probably reduce that a little bit, but just to look at the development that's coming down the road related to traffic analysis, we don't have anyone in-house that can do that. And we'd like to have someone that's licensed to be able to confer with the designers, traffic engineers. So that's why that $30,000 request is set up. Any questions?
Questions on that public administration budget? All right, so if you want to talk about the 4 positions now, that'd be
The
fine.
4 positions, yes, sir. The Public Works, we have a great deal of calls for us to visit sites, and rightly so. Our roads outside the corridor, we have a lot of roads that are maintained not by our stormwater, by conveyance system that's pipe, mostly open ditch. And those ditches are now, most of those, they're not formed properly. They're not large enough. The pipes under the driveways have not been regulated very well. Our permit now says 15 inch on up. And most of the people that come in and develop, they put the smallest pipe they can in there. And we do inspect them. We do ask them to put larger pipes in. We are at this point not providing hydro analysis, which we would like very much to do, to be sure that the pipes are large enough. We also want an inspector that can start to really rate and look at our roads with these pipes, not only to be sure the conveyance systems are large enough, but because they are free from debris and issues especially up in the dog head and some of those areas, we have a great deal of traffic, large truck traffic. They don't stay on the roads. A lot of them are inside those ditches, and those are tore up on a regular basis as well. So we're trying to find someone that can help us there, and we can start to be proactive rather than reactive, taking care of our roads. And the road quality is strictly related, very closely related to the amount of water. Mother Nature is a formidable force, and we cannot keep water off the roads. We know vertical fall is going to happen, but we want to be sure when that fall hits that it is channeled properly, that it's maintained properly, and those roads are as dry as they can be at all times. Our gravel roads are taking a very hard hit with gravel being newly put gravel. If we have a large rainstorm afterwards, it just washes the top layer and breaks the seal. Then we have the potholes and the rippling. As a matter of fact, Mrs. McClure down on Grant Road has had a brand new a load or two of gravel put in her lower field that she's very thankful of, because now she's using that gravel in her area of her field on the other side at our expense. Now, we did say we would come in there and remove that for her, but no, she wants the gravel, and rightly so. It's good gravel. And she's using that to help some areas on her farm. So I'd like to be able to ensure that happens, never happens, but at least start to reduce the effect of that and the possibility of that happening. And in doing so, we need someone that can be there for us and be more proactive and be on the roads a lot more time than we're able to be out there. And I think this is what this person would be able to do for us. The other three people that we're looking and requesting to hire would be a specific team trained for the storm truck that we're asking for. The storm truck here would also help us with our storm maintenance, our water conveyance systems, as well as be a useful tool for the fire department. We already help the fire department with our mini excavators and things if there's issues, but we could also use this piece of equipment in an emergency situation as well. So we're looking at this particular piece of equipment as a proactive measure to keep our roads drier and in better shapes, particularly the ones that are gravel. And I think I provided pictures of that monster. It's a pretty big piece of
You did.
equipment. And the person that would be involved in operating that would need special training. We'd have to be sure it was a CDL driver and not a newbie. You'd have to have at least 15 years of experience. And we already have someone or 2 or 3 individuals at our PW, our Public Works, that has those qualifications, but we want to be able to rotate them. And we'd like to have 2 personnel trained specifically to drive and operate that truck, as well as the 2 backup personnel for safety issues, which would be one who would be involved in the chainsawing and removing larger limbs, and then 1 traffic control person. That's the reason we're asking for those 3.
Okay. All right. We also had obviously some capital requests, which one of them was obviously that truck you talked about, the storm truck
Yes, sir.
with some staff vehicles and stuff like that, some tipping trailers, and then also soil vapor extraction. I guess that's something that,
That's for the landfill.
Yeah.
We've had issues with that for several years now. We're monitoring that, and EPD is satisfied. But it's coming to a point, I'm afraid, that we're going to have to make an improvement at that site to remediate that excess methane that it's producing right now.
of course, as we always do, some culvert repair and some talk a little bit about structural integrity verification.
If you ride behind the back of the transfer station, there is a vertical iron beam that is bowed. I can't get anyone to admit that they hit it. It is a little high. I'm thinking that is load bearing, a result of load bearing issues, that the weight, and there's only one beam. When you look at those structures, the concrete structures on each edge, on each end of the facility, they have one iron beam in the middle. Makes me a little nervous without seeing some numbers to be sure that that's sufficiently supported. And so that's what I'm,
$100,000 to get somebody to say that?
well, to look at it and possibly put another beam up
1.1 million.
to
I
get,
mean, it looks like on your thing says planning and designs 100,000 and construction's $1 million.
we may, well, I went overboard on the construction in case that the whole backside had to be replaced. I'm a, you know, worst case scenario, worst case scenario. And that inspection, it would be non-destructive inspection, so it could, we may have to even hire geotechnical engineers to come and look at the base, the formation, as well as the structure itself, and that would all be non-destructive. So that testing itself could be before design. And it may not be that much. It may be, you know, half that. I won't know until I get someone in there to look at it. I just didn't want to give sticker shock. I wanted you to see what the worst case scenario might be.
Which building did you say that was on?
It's the transfer
The
station.
transfer station,
Yes,
the back wall.
the back wall. Bring a handkerchief and come out there
I may come,
and look at
come
that.
look at, I'm used to the. smell
Yo,
anyway,
you
so-
come get me and I'll show you the areas that
Okay.
really concern me.
And as we've talked about, we're gonna look at some of these capital projects through some splosh money and see what we can do on some of this stuff as we move, as we finalize some of this budget process. All right, let's talk about the road department. In the road department, just looking at where you had requested which is we looked at overall, it'd be a couple $100,000 because obviously in your request, you didn't know what the group insurance and all that stuff's gonna be. They put that in on their recommended side, so
Yes, sir.
those have to be added in. Just looking at what you had wrote down, we were looking at 89,000 plus what Natalie and them had done as well. If you will, explain, there was a huge increase in equipment rental, and this may go back to what David and them were talking about, where you're now looking more at renting than you would be actually buying.
Yes, sir.
A $50,000 increase there, or $55,000 increase there. And in truck rental and hauling, $12,500, and then down to asphalt, which asphalt is obviously something we use, $26,000 there. And then gravel, $32,000 in gravel. So if you kind of hit on those are the ones that show the biggest increases of your requests.
The vehicle repair and maintenance today is $165,000.
Yeah.
That's a big number to me. Now, some of our equipment is older, so we expect that. But the cost of keeping that up is starting to get a little excessive. So that is why we were looking at the rental equipment, and that is just for one skid steer and one excavator. We could maybe get in 2 excavators depending on how we set that up. One of the excavators right now is used full-time at the landfill. I'm sorry, at the transfer station. And the arm comes down, and the guards on that arm may be a little bit more expensive for us to lease that equipment, because when the guys are in the equipment, they can't see over. So that arm, extension arm, continuously gets beat and hit. So it would have to be a piece of equipment that's reinforced, and the supplier would have to be able to provide that. So there may be some additional cost for that. And we were told that before we requested. And we've just, these are all based on phone call numbers. We really haven't put out a bid or a request for information. We're just calling vendors and seeing what their costs are. But that is why we're asking for rental equipment, because these 3 pieces of equipment are continuously at fleet being worked on, or we're having someone come out and look at them, and just normal wear and tear on the equipment. They're used all the time for different types of uses. And some of those probably aren't exactly what they're made for, particularly the one at the transfer station.
Is there a piece of equipment that would be made specifically for that job?
Yes, sir, there is.
Okay. That would not get the beat up with the one we currently have?
Yes, we would have to do a little bit of investigation on the floor of the transfer station. We'd have to do some testing. It'd be anchored, and it'd be remote control, and it would also have a grapple as well, as when the grapple closes. And I'm sure Commissioner Dooley is probably familiar with this. It has the the base of it has a rectangular steel plate on both grapples. So when it closes, it's a flat surface which can pack. But it all have to be remote controlled, where the guys can stand back and actually see
Mhm.
to put the arm over.
Okay.
Yeah, because our transfer station is a little bit kind of it's a more outdated design, the way that
Yes.
it's, I don't know if y'all been out there or not, but the trailer's back up in the hole, and there's like a funnel that goes down, and you have to navigate through the
Yes.
funnel to pack into the trailer, and you can't see it's hard to see what you're doing. Lots of times now, the newer transfer stations are designed where they're loaded with a large wheel loader, and you don't have all that to
Mhm.
mess with, but I don't think I don't think it would be large enough to even try to convert it to something like that. It could, you might could look into that, but it
We've
would
had,
be,
we've limited access there too for our workers because we had one worker fall in.
yeah.
And it's not like water, they can't kick their way
Yeah,
up.
walking
It
back.
just so happened that the trailer wasn't full.
Yeah, because the chute's probably it's probably this deep, and then you get to the trailer, and it's probably
It-
3
it's a
foot
long
to the
way.
top of the trailer.
Yes.
I think I've looked at some plans on, I think it's like 17 foot from the top to the bottom of the concrete below. So I mean, it's a pretty good little drop off.
It is. And we're also having trouble with keeping the area aerated with the fans. Every time we put up a fan, the trucks
That's
knock
it.
them down. So we bought them now to sit on the floor and they're movable to be able to push that air, but we still haven't. And that's because of the design of your
Yeah.
point well taken. It's an older design.
Can some of this equipment be bought out of the transfer fund? I mean,
We'll have
we
to
have a
see-
fund out of that?
We'll have to see what we have. Right, we have to make sure we maintain a certain amount of money in that fund for closeout.
Mhm.
Yep, so. We've used some of that over time, so for other things, so we'll have to check that.
I think also on here was this tire disposal. We were paying $110 a ton. Now it's raised to $150 a ton. So there'll be an increase for that. We may want to bring something before the board instead of numbering the tires and size of the tires, we just do it per tonnage. And also provide an area over there where the gravel is now placed under the little shed area to move that wall. That was one of the, I think, capital projects here. We move that wall out where the transfer trailers can back in. With the new trailers, the tipping trailers, they can be thrown in rather than walked in. Right now, the only trailer we have is a floor trailer. We have to walk them in manually. Once they get to head height, we have to use our mini excavator to actually put them in one at a time. I think I provided a picture here for y'all to see how that's done. It's very time consuming, very time consuming. So that was another project we were hoping to let y'all look at and maybe use assistance of gravity rather than the gas and the mini excavator to fill those trailers with those tires. And we have the facility almost 3/4 of the way built out. We just need to extend one of the walls. I think there's a picture of that as well in the presentation that I provided. I think Commissioner Dooley's point's well taken. We're just outdated a little bit in that
Yeah,
area.
that facility was built a long time before it was even utilized, the best I remember. I think that sat there for a few years before it was ever even used, and it's just a lot of those were designed that way when it was built, but it's things change. I mean, that's just what everything is. It just
Yeah,
Changes with time.
it does.
changes.
It does.
So what were you saying about the tire trailer? You want to do like an open top trailer?
Yes, an
for
open
that?
top trailer and just let them throw it in, let gravity load it.
Yeah.
Rather than walking it in and using the mini excavator to stack it. Right now, we stack that thing completely full because it's such a cost for us to haul that to the south side of Atlanta.
Mhm.
So we want to be sure the trailers are full before we haul them.
Right.
And it takes time. It's a lot of time and use of equipment. And we have to, one mini excavator is continuously packing trash, and the other one we have to wait till we're not using it on site for anything to pack the tires. So if we could just eliminate that requirement and put it in an area where the residents could just throw the tires, it'd be a great help now and for the tire days that we have twice a year.
How often do we make that run to Atlanta
twice a week, sorry, twice a week
for tires?
for tires. Now, we may in the fall and the winter, when people aren't doing that, it slows down a little bit, but this summer we've seen twice a month, and I am seeing that there's times when we come in on the day. Now, we've had the gate to where now it closes. But before then, we had, I think it was probably commercial residents, commercial businesses bringing their tires in, and we would come in, and I shared this with Dave, we'd have a huge stack of tires by the trailer overnight. So I'm thinking that that is one of the reasons why we're starting to see an increase in hauling those tires down.
Twice a week or twice a month?
Twice a week. We can have up to twice a week.
Yeah, that's a lot, because
And I think it's commercial. I think it's businesses bringing their tires. You know, we have the security gate,
yeah,
and that had been staying open for quite a while. Now we've got to where we're closing it at night, and we're not seeing that as much. But there were days that we'd come in, especially on Mondays, and they would just, it'd take all day to put them in a truck.
Yeah.
how many tires we had. So
People will take advantage of what they can.
they do,
yeah.
they do.
Yeah,
And
I know it, and I hate it, but you know, if they're gonna dump them, I'd rather them dump them there than on the side of the road. But,
yes,
you know, but you still gotta,
Yes.
you can't just let people keep doing it for nothing, because there's, I mean, there's a big cost just in the disposal and the truck, and it probably takes, I think there's only, as far as I know, there's only a couple places that do that. I think they're owned by the same company.
it
so
is. It
it's,
is.
You don't have a whole lot of choice for disposal of those.
And they're giving us a cut rate at 150.
Yeah,
Because we're government. It's
Yeah.
250.
yeah,
Yeah, so they're working with us. But it's still very expensive. It's at one time, we only had one truck that could make the haul. Now, thanks to y'all, we have two. We need it. But yeah, it was tedious to get it to work with the trash hauls as well, because we're making 3 to 4 trash hauls.
mhm.
So that's, I mean,
A
that's
day.
the thing, if commercial will bring them in there, they're getting paid when you get new tires to dispose of those. And they're supposed to have a sheet on site signed off of how many tires they're supposed to take it because they're getting paid for them. So if they're bringing them to us, we need to ask them to see that sheet. If not, then we'll turn them into EPD. And they'll find them. But they're supposed to have a list of
I think
how many tires they bring in
I
and,
provided
and where they're, and they actually have to have where they're going too.
I provide a picture to show you one day that when we came in, the amount of tires that were left. Well,
So
maybe
we,
it's
we
not
don't
even-
charge them to dump the tires at our location.
We charge them by size and count what size, if they're regular vehicle tires or tractor tires. But what I would propose now, is we're getting so many, is just to weigh them
Well,
and do it by ton.
they're making money.
They are.
That's why they bring them to us. It's cheaper than,
It is.
What
but
do y'all,
they're supposed to, like I said, they're supposed to have that list where they're going.
what do y'all charge?
I'd have to look.
For
I'm
tire.
sorry, I don't remember how much it is for tire. It's
I don't
different.
remember, because we do the same, I can't remember what we charge. I know we're high just because it's aggravating
Yeah. it
to
is.
fool with. I mean, I think we may do like a load every couple months, but
Yeah,
it's better than people dumping them, because people will bring them, they're like, no, you can't put them in the trash, so we have to charge for them to unload them over here, so.
we don't get 2 runs a week all the time.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at December and January,
Yeah.
but when it starts getting warmer weather is when it increased. I don't
Right.
know why, but it has been very
Yeah.
heavy the last 3 months.
Because that might be
Very
something
heavy.
we want to look at, is what we're charging for them, and if there are commercial places that's coming up here, and we may be too cheap, like Tim said, we may want to try to, because I don't want to, that's one of the things you don't want to be too expensive on for residents, because they
Yes.
might go dump them on the side of the road.
Right.
You want to offer a place for the dump, but I don't, like a commercial business dumping, we can't afford to keep them up, because I know their disposal costs are expensive, and that they found a place to get rid of them. Maybe what they're limit, yeah,
For the tonnage, the weight.
right,
Yeah, that's not gonna be a homeowner.
yeah.
we should have a different rate for that.
For a different commercial rate
Yeah.
versus resident rate or
Yeah.
Yeah,
something.
no, that would be, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Look at two rates.
yeah, because it's, I think it provides a good service to give the county residents a place to go if they have, I don't know how people wind up with so many tires with the tire company's taking them, but I mean, it happens, so.
I think what you see a lot of times is some of the homeowners, if our rate is cheap, don't want to pay what they're asking them to pay when they
That's the
get their
thing,
tires
yeah.
changed, so they just take them home with them and take them to the landfill.
Right,
We're also seeing, I think, some developers that come in and over the years, folks have thrown tires out in the field or the
Yeah.
backyard or something.
yeah,
So we get tires full of mud. We get
Yes.
them on the rim. We have to take them off the rim.
You got all those ones down there when they were building them apartments, you got a load or two.
Yes.
'Cause They
And
was
so
a
some
pile
of
down
that,
there.
Yeah.
On Dawson Forest that they dug out of the mud.
Really?
Oh, yeah, there was
It was
hundreds.
Hundreds of them
kidding.
piled
and
up
that
there.
increases our weight because we can't spend time to
Yes.
clean all that.
There was
So,
tons of them down there, because I'm thinking, oh my goodness.
so we don't require them to be clean. We just,
No.
off the rim. They can't be on the rim.
and that would help if you did it by the tonnage too, if it
Yes.
was,
Mhm.
you know. If they did have money, it wouldn't matter, they'd be paying more.
They pay for
That'd
it.
be more, yeah.
Yeah.
They
Then they
clean their
clean
own
that.
tires.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Back to the public works. I know you asked for more money in gravel, obviously. That's just trying to keep the roads up.
We have a great deal of gravel issues. You know, even if we're paving and we remove the asphalt, we have to put down a good bit of gravel at times before we resurface and before we put the base down. So that gravel is used on both our asphalt and our gravel roads.
And I know we'd asked for more money in asphalt as well. Yes, that's asphalt we actually put down ourselves, our
It-
crew does.
It is, it is. We had thought at one time we were going to use for our LMIG, we thought that we were going to use a outside company. And we started looking at what they cost, because right now, historically, a mile for asphalting, just asphalting for LMIG is $95,000 a mile. And when we started looking at quotes, it was over twice that, almost 200,000 a
Hmm.
mile for another company to do that. So
Right.
that's why we kept and increased our asphalt and our gravel a little bit more. And the FDR, which I'm a huge proponent of, is about 600,000 a mile. Which we
Pulls out
can't, which we
reclamation.
cannot do, but it's
Right.
30-year guaranteed, and that's even before we start to see wear and tear. That's not at fault. So that's I think a very good investment for our money.
How
Is
many,
there-
how many positions you got open now?
We have one public works position open for a crew member. And then we have none in public works administration. But hopefully y'all will give me one. If we don't have any open right now.
We've heard feedback from the sheriff's office and fire and EMS on the rates increases we just did. Have y'all communicated that to your employees? and how they
Yes,
take it?
we did, and they are very, very thankful. Very, very thankful.
Good.
They thought it was a joke. I'm telling you. At first, they said, okay, what's the but? And I said, there is no but. It's, I'm telling you. And they said, really, $2? I just can't tell you how appreciative they were. Very appreciative.
Because most of them, I mean, you were short a few for a while. though,
We
weren't
were.
Yes,
And
it's
it's-
always in the advertisement.
But the CDL training that we've just now started to provide, we worked with our attorneys to get an agreement, a 2-year agreement, once they achieve their CDL, has really helped keeping
Good.
employees. So,
It's good. Any other questions for her in reference to the Public Works Department, David?
If I may, just for a second, capitalize on a couple of items that was mentioned that might help the board. One is that, and to Commissioner Dooley's point, that you know, that transfer station. It's taken. So we are concerned about some structural integrity of it. If you go out there now, and you see the the left side of the standing in the transfer station, the side is gone.
oh yeah, I forgot to
It's
mention
ripped
that.
off. And we informed that it hasn't been does create an airplay.
Yeah, we don't want to fix that yet. We want to wait till hot weather's over before we fix that.
The really the sheeting on it needs to be looked at as well. It's been stated that needs to be used. I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention as well.
Go ahead.
Back in 2012, the intent back then was to look at the county-wide drainage system. And what that did is hydraulically, base point, it took the entire county and put it in a hydraulic format so that we knew going forward what pipes needed to be upsized or where we had choke points, that kind of thing. So we went out and a construction monitor went out and surveyed every culvert that we had, over 1,300 culverts. You may have heard David speak to this before. They were photographed, they were graded, they were identified as to material type. And most of you may recall, a lot of the pipes that are in the ground now are corrugated metal pipe. So over the years, they've got about 30, 50-year lifespan. But anyway, all that being said, they were just pretty much, well, if that went up the streets an 18-inch, heck, an 18-inch ought to work good here. Instead of doing the hydraulic study on the entire system, that drainage basin, if you will, determine what it needs to be upsized to. So each one of those culverts, cross pipes that were identified also had a red tag number. And that was either put into the pavement or put on reflectors by the pipes. So you could, a citizen could call in and say, this pipe has failed or got problems there. They would go back and ask, well, is there a number? That's number 396. They could look it up in the book and see what that would break. If 5 being worse, number 4, so we know that pipe problem. It was also used to be able to calculate over time what those costs may be for the system. And that would help us be able to plan as far as this year maybe X amount of dollars. I say all that to go back to what Denise was talking about. Visual, look at that. That system has not been updated since about 2012. So when somebody comes in with a driveway permit, we just basically give a permit for it. They go out and install it. Not look for site distance issues, maybe whatever. No hydraulics. Some counties, actually, public works department does the work themselves. They do a hydraulic on it. They know that the pipe water can flow without creating choke points. So again, I just say that for the board's information. That it's, it's an ongoing process that needs attention on it. We're one of the few counties that do have.
And in addition, I did not bring this up. Our MS4 area right now is only 14 square miles and it's right there at the corridor. Talking to EPD in the last couple of months, they're thinking about expanding our corridor, maybe our MS4 area, maybe doubling that, which is, their regulations are very tight and they should be. So that would be that we would need someone to also help manage that increase in area. We have to look at every conveyance system, every pipe, every structure, every pond, and we have to not only keep a record and log, we have to update our manual every year. We have to catalog every illicit discharge complaint or erosion control complaint. With all the development going on in the area around that corridor, that's almost a full-time job in itself. We also are seeing more development out in the more rural areas, and we're having more erosion controls and illicit discharge problems in those areas as well. So the folks out there are very vocal. They don't like the development. So we spend a great deal of time with EPD at some of those sites because of that.
Other questions in reference to Public Works? No, and let's talk a little bit about the transfer station. So in the transfer station, you have requested $50,000 in machinery and equipment, and that was the same amount that was in 2021. What would that be for, and would that not fall under a capital request?
Well, I was thinking more of the fans. We do need to replace the fans out there. I think at times it's just unbearable because of not only the odor, but there's no air moving. Those fans are anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 a piece. We'd also have to pay for the installation of those fans. I was
Talking about
also,
hanging ones?
yes, sir.
Okay.
The one I just ordered for the floor was $3,000. So it's very expensive. We've also provided an awning out there for the transfer station, which we don't expect to have anything like that in addition. But just looking at what may come, and also looking at maybe an increase in cost for renting equipment if we had to have some more packing issues, if we had the minute excavator out. We didn't have that this year, which we were very lucky. But if we did, we'd have funds there to be able to keep the transfer station open and working. So that to me is a rainy day fund for things that might come up that we just don't foresee.
All right, any questions from the board?
I did have one I forgot to ask a minute ago on the excavator, the mini excavator you had listed. Two of them, is that for both of the 45 per year? Is that for both or is that for one?
That's for both if it's not used in the transfer
If they're
station.
just standard,
Yes.
like get them off the lot
Yes,
and go, okay.
yes, but it probably will be a much higher price for the one that we use at the transfer
Right.
station. But they were not able to give us a price. I just said it'd be much higher.
Other questions? Any other departments that Denise manages? Thank you, ma'am. James, come on up. You're next in the facilities. James's budget request is actually less than what he had for 2021. I think primarily James is here because he's wanting to upgrade a part-time position to a full-time position. His overall budget request is about $110,000 less, and that's in one category primarily, and that's in the property repair and maintenance category. So, James, I'm guessing you're here just to talk about the upgrade.
I am. I did have a couple of those smaller changes.
All right.
I came to y'all in July to turn a part-time into full-time custodian, and I appreciate y'all doing that for us. My request today is to turn one more. I have a total of 3. I wanted to turn one more into full-time to take care of this building and keep one at part-time. Part of the reason is obviously what I said to y'all in July, that I can't keep anybody. In fact, I've had a position that's open part-time for 3 months and I have 0 applications. And I think over the last year and a half, I've had 7 different employees in these part-time positions. Part of the problem is it's a 5-day-a-week job. It's not a typical part-time job of the 2 days a week. It's Monday through Friday. The buildings will be 10 years old on January the 2nd, which has been in good shape, but we're starting to get older and starting to get more cobwebs and everything else along with it. So my request is part-time to a full-time position. Feel like I could use other people in other positions in maintenance, but I'm aware that y'all have got your hands full of that. So I'm going to try to make do with what I've got in the facilities department and just hang on. And maybe I'll be approaching y'all next year, but I'm sure your hands are full with employees at this point. I've got a couple of small items that I did increase. Obviously, one of them is exterminating, and the obvious reason for that is we got 5 new buildings in the county over the last year and a half, and they have to be taken care of. Inspections, I want to ask for, I think about a $3,000 increase. Inspections are just, it'd be crazy for me to sit here and tell y'all how many we have to go through, state elevators, fire inspections and all that. I think the state elevator guy kind of hit us for like $3,000 alone just on the 9 elevators this year. So slight increase for that to take care of the elevators. I did subtract my vehicle repair from 5,000. I took 2,000 off of that, made it 3,000 because the board was gracious enough to provide us with 2 vehicles this year and 2 in 2017. So with newer vehicles comes less maintenance. So I reduced that couple $1,000. The only other thing that I did on my operating budget is propane. You know, we took over the old fleet shop when Shannon and them got the new, and the building is only heated by propane alone. It goes through quite a bit. And that's the reason for the $800 increase in propane to maintain the building during the winter months, to make sure nothing freezes up out there. That's basically it. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
No, I think you're doing a good job, James. Your
Thank you.
request is the best one I've seen so far in redemption. By far.
Well, I think most of y'all know me, you know, I'm in my 29th year with the county. I try to make do with what I got, and I don't ask for things I don't need.
We appreciate that and the job that you and your staff do keeping these facilities going.
How's your lawnmowers and stuff?
I've got actually a couple of lawnmowers. We take really good care of our lawnmowers. I have a 2008, a 2010, and a 2015, and they all run. So one of them lawnmowers is 13 years old, and it'll go out and cut grass today. It's just about it, keeping them maintenance and maintained.
Thank you, sir.
Am I it? Is this
You're
it?
done. No, you're not it. We got a couple more. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we can take a break.
Go Dogs.
Talbot. Hold. If we're gonna take a break.
Yeah, they just hit, all they gotta do is when they hit this, like, Tim, hit speak button. When you hit that, it puts it on here as green, and you just gotta scroll down
Okay,
and hit next on. And it'll turn it.
okay. All right.
So if you'll just tell them to hit speak, and then it'll turn green, and then you scroll down and hit.
Okay. Speak. Point at us.
Speak.
Speak. Speak. What's the? I know.
We can.
I gotta go.
We'll come back in just a few minutes.